Okay, we're ready to go.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Mr. Chen. And again, just one more time, if you have a question, I want this to be a dialogue between us. I'm going to give a lot of information tonight, and I want to be able to address all of your questions and concerns. So please, at any time, if you have a question, type it into the chat, and we will pause the presentation periodically to address your questions. So the purpose of meeting with you tonight is to go over some of the new exam options that have been thrown at us basically by the College Board. We're going to talk about what those options are, how you'll choose your exam option. There will be some exams that are only offered in person, and so we're going to go over what the safety protocols are, because that seemed to be a major concern when we talk to our students. And also what the exam refund process is, because this year College Board has changed that item to your benefit, actually. So I want to start by saying, when you receive an email that starts with new AP testing dates and digital exams, after exams have already been ordered, you know you're in trouble. So I applaud College Board. College Board has really tried to look at all the schools that they're servicing and meet them where they are with this pandemic. They realize that some schools are in person, that some schools are on hybrid models, and some schools like us are still on full distance learning models with the school building being closed. So they decided that they would provide us with options for our testing this year. So I do applaud them for that. However, what they've decided to do is to extend our AP testing season from one test administration, which would be offered at the beginning of May, to 3 separate test administrations that would span the beginning of May through mid-June. And I'm going to kind of explain that just a little bit. So when we look at the calendar, this Admin 1 would be our normal AP exam day and times. The Admin 1 will still exist. Admin 1 will be all paper and pencil exams offered on site in school. Admin 2, which goes during our final exam week and into our graduation, has a combination of in-person exams and at-home digital options. Not all exams are offered in school at that time, and not all exams are offered digitally at that time. They then extended into an Administration 3 in the beginning of June, in which half the exams are offered in person and half the exams are also offered digitally. So in their infinite wisdom, they have decided that there are 5 exams that must be offered in person. So if you are a student taking a world language exam, Chinese, French, German, Spanish, or you're taking music theory, these exams do not have a digital option. They are only offered in person in school with their traditional paper and pencil exams. There are other exams that Walnut High School will be offering with in-person and digital options: biology, calculus, chemistry, environmental science, microeconomics, physics 1, and psychology. Students will have an option to choose an in-person exam or a digital exam that they can take in their home. All other exams will be offered digitally and at home, with the exception, of course, of the world languages and the music theory. We actually went through a very extensive process here at Walnut High School. When we got the new schedule from AP, we had discussions with our AP teachers, and then we actually put a survey out to the students to see, if these options were available to you, which one would you choose? And from that, we developed a schedule that we will be using to offer students choices on the exam. Please don't worry about taking screenshots of this. This presentation will be available to you, and we will also provide you with this schedule. But this is just to give you an example of the choices that we are offering our students. So we have 3 different exam options for each one of the exams. Some of them do not have an option. For example, art history will not have an in-school option during their first administration, but we'll have two choices of an at-home option, either on May 19th or June 2nd. To the extent possible, we tried to give a minimum of two options for all exams, with the exception of statistics and US government. They will only have one option available to them in June. So you will get this schedule on Friday when we push everything out. Something else that's important to note is that the scores, if you take the administration 1 or administration 2, your scores will be released to you in July. So that's on a normal schedule. If you take administration 3, you will be waiting until August for your scores. Now that was a lot of information in a very short period of time. So Mr. Chen, I'm sure there are some questions out there.
You know what, Mr. Bell? You did such a great job. I currently have no questions.
Wow.
Well, let's see. One from Jacob. How will we report these scores to colleges?
So the process of reporting your scores is exactly the same as it has always been. In the pre-registration process, you will indicate which schools you would like your scores to go to. And so you actually, I can't remember exactly how many it is. I think it's 3. You're allowed to send scores for free, so no charge, to send those scores out if you make that choice before the July release date. So you will indicate what schools you want those scores sent to, and College Board will automatically send them. If you at a later date decide that you want to send those scores to another school, you will have to order those scores, and there will be a fee involved in sending those scores to another school.
Okay, I have another question. Are any AP tests clashing with finals week?
Absolutely, that's a great question. We do have AP tests that will be offered during finals week. We actually have 2 AP exams that will be offered on graduation day. This is where the options come in. So we are really trying to, we really tried to look at our calendar, teacher requests and student requests when we came up with the schedule for what we will offer our students. So for example, the reason we're offering biology and environmental science as an in-person and a digital option is because the only digital option is offered on May 27th, which is our graduation day. And I know a lot of our seniors would like to participate in graduation activities rather than sitting for an AP exam at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So those students will have the option of coming on campus in person during that first administration to take their exam.
Okay, a few questions that pertain to the test content. Will it be different for in-person or at home?
College Board has really said that they are not going to have a difference in the test. There will be slight differences, which will be available in the testing guide, but they're very slight differences. Whereas you would have to handwrite 3 or 2, what do they call them, DFAs? The questions, essays. So basically, you have to handwrite 2 essays in the on paper one. You might have to do 3 if you were multiple choice questions on the digital. But that will be released to you actually very shortly. I will have that information available for you before you make your decision. Actually, I can push that out to you. They're still pushing information out to us. I was actually in a training, Mr. Chen and I were both in a training last night, getting more information to be able to pass on to you today. So this is a fluid situation, but we do still have to adhere to a lot of timelines. So as we get further in the presentation, I'm going to tell you what some of the current timelines are, which is why we need to give you this information as soon as possible so you can make your decision. But they will be full-length exams. So if it's a 3-hour in-person paper and pencil exam, it will be a 3-hour paper and pencil exam at home.
Okay. Next question. If my exam starts at 8 a.m., am I skipping school?
As always, you would be excused from school for your AP exams. So if your exam starts at 8 a.m., we most likely, because of all our COVID protocols that we'll have in place, have you report 45 minutes prior to that exam so that we can go through everything and make sure everybody is safe and in the proper location, and ready for the exam when it's time to start. Therefore, you would come straight to school on a day like that. All attendance problems would be cleared. Your name would be submitted to the attendance office that you were in person taking the exam. So you would be cleared with that. Your teachers would also be notified in advance that you would be missing their class as well.
Okay. So real quick, for those that are listening, there are multiple questions that are very similar. We will be talking about the specifics of schedules and exam options as we move forward in the presentation. Okay, so if your question does not appear to be answered by then again, go ahead and send me that question again at the end of the presentation. One quick question. Can you speak a little bit about the AP exam taken at home? Any ideas of the time frame allowed? Exam, video, mic on, etc.
Again, that's a fluid situation. We've gotten an outline of some of the specs that you have to have for your computers, like what devices you can and can't use. We're still getting information on that. And as I get that information, I will pass it on to you. But actually, in the beginning of April, on April 8th, actually, they're going to be releasing the digital guide for students. So at that point in time, we will have another meeting where we can go over all the students who chose the digital option and go over with them what they need to know to be able to access that exam. It will not be the same as last year's 45-minute exam. So they've really improved the system. There's no lockdown browser that's necessary, but there are other safety protocols that are in place that I'm not aware of at this time. I need to wait for that guide to come out as well. So as soon as we get that information, we'll pass that out to you. But it should be equivalent to taking that paper and pencil test. So if you come to school and take a paper and pencil test, or you take the digital option at home, the test content should be equivalent.
Okay, I know that we will touch base on this, in the future, but a great question. For those that are testing at home, will we need to download new applications on our computers?
Yes, and that's kind of an unknown right now. We're still waiting for that digital guide to come out. I'm assuming that there will be a secure browser of some kind that you'll need to download, but they have said there's no lockdown browser. A lot of you are familiar with that lockdown browser that you use in My AP. Things are, like I said, things are changing. Last week, one of the specs that you had to have was a computer with a camera and an ID so that you could show your ID on camera. This week, they have changed that policy, and now they're saying no cameras are required for the digital test. I know they also have safeguards in place. If you took a digital test last year, you know that there were quite a few technical difficulties, kids getting kicked out of their internet and things like that. And they have assured us that they have things in place this year that if you do get kicked out, you can still continue with your test. You only need to be connected to the internet for the beginning of the test and the end of the test. And then there are even safeguards for you to be able to submit that test after if you have technical difficulties at that time.
Okay. Now, there are several other questions too, but many of them will be answered as we move forward in this presentation. So, of course, keep the questions coming. I will continue to text you back or comment back on the chat box if there's something that was not answered for you. Again, go ahead and ask that question again in the chat later on. Okay?
Okay, so we're ready to move on to the next topic, Mr. Chen?
Yes.
Okay, so choosing your exam option. This is where we are now. So we have 2 weeks to find out which exam option you would like to take. So we'll push out more information to you on Friday. You're going to get this presentation. You'll get a couple of handouts from College Board with more information. But basically what we need from you is to choose which exam option you would like to take. And we need that information by Friday, March 19th, because we have a deadline to be able to order those paper and pencil exams. So on Friday, we're going to push out a Google form, which is very similar to the survey that we sent out to students earlier to find out, if you took a test, which one would you prefer? This one won't be a preference. This is the exam I want to take. So we're going to push that out Friday. We'll give you 2 weeks to make your decision, to contact me or Mr. Chen or your teacher to ask more questions and make an informed decision on which test you want to take. So this Friday, we will push it out in the Friday forecast. We'll push it out to the school website, and we'll also push it out to your student email. And when I say student email, I'm always referring to the email that you use to register with the College Board, which should not be your school email. If it's currently your school email, you need to change that, because a lot of College Board emails and test instructions do not go to student emails. So make sure you have a personal email registered with College Board. So that's basically what we're asking you to do right now. And I know there are probably some questions on that.
All right, give me a few seconds. I've been answering a few on the side. If we change our mind about taking an exam and choose to cancel, who should we contact?
Okay, we're going to answer that question later in the presentation, but it's a very simple procedure, very simple.
The day we choose on the form, is that guaranteed what we get that date, or that we get that date?
I would like to say yes, but we are actually very limited to the amount of people that we can have on campus giving an in-person exam. Right now, we're basing the amount of space and the amount of proctors and things like that that are available on the results of that student survey. There's a little flexibility there, but in-person exams will be limited. So if all of a sudden I think I had 54 calculus students say they wanted to take it in person. If all of a sudden 186 students want to take it, I'm not able to accommodate them and still follow public health protocols and have the proper amount of proctors in each room. So the seats will be limited. Priority will be given to any student that has a conflict. So if you have a conflict with graduation, if you have a conflict with a sporting event, now that we're opened up for sports, if you have a conflict with, I don't know, there are lots of different reasons you could have conflicts. But those students will be given the priority for the in-person testing. After that, we'll look at our seniors. So then seniors will have second priority, and then third priority will go to our juniors.
That's a great answer. Next one. What happens if you have technical difficulties while taking an online test?
So College Board has promised us that they have fixed all of those technical difficulties on their end. And all you have to have is the internet connection at the beginning of your test and the end of your test. Once you start the test, it will run automatically on your computer, whether you're connected to the internet or not. So if it's a connectivity issue, that should not stop you from being able to take and submit your test. They've even said that at the end, if there's a connection issue when it's time to submit the test, which will be submitted automatically this year. Last year, you had the big 5-minute button that showed up and you had to submit. The test will automatically submit at the end of the test time. So it should just go into cyberspace until it's ready to be submitted. They said they have safeguards in place for that this year. And again, I won't have details until we get that digital guide.
Okay, next question. What happens if we can't get into the in-person exam? Would we need to take it on our graduation day?
Well, if you're a senior, I would give you priority for not taking it on your graduation day. So hopefully we would be able to accommodate all of those seniors. At this point in time, if we accommodated all the students that we have right now on that graduation day, we're able to do that on our campus.
Next question. Is it too late to register for AP exams?
Yes, unfortunately, it is too late to, well, actually, no. Let me take that back. It is not too late to register for an exam. The deadline is fast approaching. It is March 12th is the deadline to register for an AP exam. So you would need to contact Mr. Chen or me immediately if you still wanted to sign up for an AP exam, and we'd need to have that payment in as soon as possible. But contact us directly because we would have to have that exam ordered and in the system by March 12th.
Okay.
There is, however, Mr. Chen, I'm sorry. There is, however, a $40 late fee. After the November deadline, College Board does charge a $40 late fee. So if you were paying for one exam, the normal fee would be $100. And so now if you ordered an exam at this time, it would be $140.
Okay. Multiple questions regarding this next one. Is it true that we cannot look back at our answers or go back to the questions that we skipped on an online exam?
That is true. That is one of the safeguards that College Board has put in place for the digital exams, is that once you move on to the next question, you are not able to go back. And I'm assuming that's to prevent students from looking up answers and going back to the questions that they didn't answer.
Okay, next. How can we confirm our sign up for the AP exam?
Okay, so Mr. Chen and I will be very busy after the 19th, confirming everyone's registration and physically putting it into the AP ordering system. We will be contacting students who did not give us their option and making sure that we have everything in there before our deadline date. You can always check at any time. You can go into My AP and look at your registration, and it should tell you what session you are registered for. If you're registered for an exam right now, unless you're a world language, it will automatically tell you you're in admin 1 because we haven't changed anyone yet. The only people that we have changed are the people that are taking the in-person exams, like Chinese and music theory. Did I answer that question?
Yeah, you think you should.
Okay.
Okay, next one. Can you remind our audience how long is the online test again?
It is a full-length AP test. So I would have to look in the manual to tell you exactly how long each test is, but tests run between 3 and 4 hours, depending on the exam. So if it's a 3 or 4 hour in-person exam, it's also a 3 or 4 hour digital exam. The main difference in timing for the exams is that if you come in person, we have an hour window. So if your test starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, we have until 9 o'clock in the morning to actually start your test and break that seal. So we can use that time to give instructions, check people in. We want to get you started at 8 o'clock, though. That's our goal, which is why we would have you come early. But we do have that 1 hour window. If you take a digital exam, all digital exams are offered at the exact same time worldwide. So the paper and pencil would be 8 o'clock in Walnut, California. It would also be at 8 o'clock in the morning in New York City. Not exactly at the same time. That would be a 3 hour time difference. But the digital tests are offered at the exact same time worldwide. So our test times would be 9 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. If you do the digital, automatically at 9 o'clock in the morning, your test will begin. And whenever the test time ends, it will automatically end. You have no control over that. You can't start your test at 9:05. It will start at 9 o'clock.
Okay, next question. How will AP verify the ID of the student at home if the cameras aren't on?
I'm not sure how we're doing that at this point in time. I know they do have a series of security questions that they ask you before you log in. For the digital test, they will ask you to actually log in 30 minutes prior to your exam. So if you have a 9 a.m. exam, you would log in at 8:30 to go through the security process and all the pre-registration questions that we would normally do in person as well. So there is a process that they have in place, but I'm not 100% sure at this point in time what it is. As soon as I have that information, I will pass it on to you. I'm sure it will be in the digital guide that we get in April.
Okay, man, the questions. All right, if there are not enough spots to take it at Walnut High School, is there another site where we can take it in person?
Um, that's always a possibility, but it's very difficult to find alternate sites to take tests. Most of the schools in our area require you to be taking the class on their site to be able to offer it. And then I don't know what other sites are offering. It's possible they're only offering digital options to their students. The training that Mr. Chen and I went to, a lot of people were not planning to offer the in-person tests at all at their site because their sites are closed. So it actually, I don't know. Yeah, you could do it. You could transfer to another school after March 12th, but it would be a difficult process.
Okay, those are all the questions. Let's move on.
All right, moving on to our next topic, in-person exams. So when we sent the survey out to the students, the number one question that we got at the end of the survey was, what safety precautions will you have in place for our in-person exams? And that's an excellent question. Everyone should be concerned about that in this day and time. So I just want to share with you some of the safety protocols that we have in place. These are approved by the Los Angeles County Department of Health. We actually have a COVID safety protocol written for Walnut High School. So these protocols will be followed at all of our on-site testing. So what you're looking at here is a mock setup of what an AP test would look like. So in a normal AP test, the students are required to sit 5 feet apart from sternum to sternum. Our safety protocols from LA County Department of Health right now are that we sit 6 feet apart. So this setup is 6 feet apart. We also have the plexiglass dividers up there for, little safety. Normally, College Board does not allow dividers of any kind, but for COVID, they are allowing it. So the main safety protocols are that students and staff all must wear a mask. So everyone would have to show up with a mask. We would have a maximum of 14 students in each room. That is subject to change, but at this point in time, that's what our guidelines are from California Department of Health. Students must be placed 6 to 8 feet. I say 6 to 8 because our world languages already in College Board, they have to be seated 8 feet apart, front, back, side, and side. So some of those students will be 8 feet apart as opposed to the 6 feet. We have the plexiglass. And then, of course, we'll make sure that each student station is completely cleaned and sanitized prior to each exam. A couple other things that you'll need to do before the exam, and this will take place closer to the exam, but we'll have all students and parents complete the Walnut Valley Connectivity Cohort Behavioral Expectations Guidelines and Precautionary Measures for COVID-19, which is basically a permission slip. So it's the district's permission slip for you to be able to come on campus and participate in the cohort and make sure that you understand all of the safety guidelines that we have in place. And then the day of the exam, all students will be required to complete a health screening form. It's very simple, and we'll go over with the students how to do that prior to their arrival. Some other things that we'll ask the students to do when they arrive on campus, we'll give them a gate, one specific gate for all the students to go to, and we'll ask them to maintain a 6-foot distance from the others while they're waiting to be checked in. We will verify that they completed their health screening. We will also ask them to wash or sanitize their hands as they enter the building. And this is nothing new, but we will ask them to bring their personal testing materials in a clear Ziploc baggie. So we've always asked students to bring their paper, their pencils and calculators and things like that in a Ziploc baggie so we can see what they're bringing into the testing location. But then also they have their own personal materials and we don't have to worry about sanitizing materials for them. All right, are there any questions about that?
Sorry.
That's okay. Sometimes we have to formulate their questions.
Back and forth, typing in answers as well. Ooh, what happens if a student has COVID and was signed up for the in-person testing?
So because we have the safety net of the 3 administrations, we are able to petition to the College Board to be able to move that student from administration 1 to administration 2 or from administration 2 to administration 3. But we would have to have a reason to make that move.
Okay, the next question. Our exam date and time is listed on the College Board, right?
Yes, College Board has all of the new exam dates and times listed. However, Walnut High School will not be offering every single test administration. So I would pay attention to the guide that we're going to send out on Friday with all of these materials that shows you exactly which test offerings we have at Walnut High School.
So make sure you guys write down that date, okay? This Friday, we're going to be sending out via email the student account, posting it on our school website, on the AP webpage as well, the form for you to click and select and choose what your options are. Next question, what kind of personal material will students need to bring?
There are a couple tests that have specific items for you to bring. For example, calculus will ask you to bring your own personal calculator, and then there are specific types of calculators that you need to bring. So we'll check all that. But it's always wise to bring, if you're coming in person, obviously you want to bring extra pens, extra pencils. Were they allowed to have erasers, separate erasers, Mr. Chen, or did we have to remove those?
We allowed those, we did allow erasers, but we had to take off the wrapping.
Okay, that's what it was. I knew there was something special about erasers. So it's just basic test materials that you would come to a test. You would need your pencil, you would need your pens. A lot of tests do require blue or black ink for the writing of the essays, but we will let you know in advance of your exam exactly what materials you need to bring. And of course, we'll have extras there if students forget theirs. We always have extras. But if they bring their own, then we have the safety issue of they're bringing their own materials and no one else is taking it.
Everyone remember, the student order form that we are referring to with your options, yes, it will be released on Friday, and you will have 2 weeks to complete it, okay, 2 weeks. You will most likely get reminders just to make sure, and we will follow up with students that may have forgotten to submit something.
Any other questions, Mr. Chen?
Yes. Let's see. Are we allowed to bring our phones and leave them in the bag?
Phones will not be allowed in the bag. We discourage you to bring your phone at all. If you do bring your phone, you will have to give it to a proctor. You'll have to surrender it to a proctor when you enter the room, where the phones will be bagged and tagged with your name. We put it off into a separate location during the test, and at the end of the test, you can retrieve your phone. But phones are not permitted in the testing locations.
Okay, next question. How would we show our work on the online exam?
There is no handwritten work on the online exam this year. Everything is entered directly into the testing interface on the computer. So if you took an exam last year, you know, for math, you had to do hand calculations and take it and upload it. You don't do that this year. This year, everything is done digitally on the computer.
For at-home essays, would it be typing or writing?
Yes, it would be typing into the computer.
Okay, let's see, next question. If we do an in-home test, should there be more date options so it won't overlap students' summer school? Oh, first question about summer school.
Yeah, these are the only options given to us by College Board, those 3 test administrations. So if we're going into a June date, we would make sure that you are excused from your summer school that day. I know that's really inconvenient because one day of summer school is almost like a week of school. But we would make sure that your teachers are notified and you are excused for that day.
Are we allowed to bring water into the test?
Yes, absolutely. You are allowed to bring water and snacks. Those rules have not changed. We will have a designated location like we always do for you to place those materials. You can't have them at your desk, but we will have a designated location where you can place those items. And then when there is a break in the testing, you will be able to go over, have your snack, drink your water, and then return to your testing location.
For in-person exams, would work be collected?
Yes, we will collect everything. You leave with nothing but the paper and pens, but the Ziploc baggie that you entered with. So we collect everything.
Let's see, what else is there? A lot of it has to do with the work that is done by hand. Does that mean we would be writing our work on the computer for math? That's a very specific.
Again, that's something we're going to have to look at the digital guide when it comes out in April. There was also, like I said, some information that was pushed out yesterday that I have not had an opportunity to go through the entire full guide yet. So as soon as we get that information, we'll pass that on. That would be important information for your calculus and your statistics teachers to have as well. So we'll push that information out as soon as we have that available for you.
I know you've answered this earlier in the presentation, but a lot of people are asking, will the online test be harder because they are offered later?
I honestly can't answer that that question. I would hope not. And I believe that question was asked in our very first workshop. And College Board said, no, it will be exactly the same. But, everybody can say, oh, my question was so much harder than Johnny's question, even though you're not supposed to be sharing questions. You always do. So I can't honestly answer that, just that it will be a full length exam that's supposed to be equivalent to the paper and pencil test.
Ms. DeBell, can you share the process for refunds once again?
Oh, I haven't even gotten there yet, Mr. Chen.
Nope, just kidding. Okay, I guess that leads to the next few slides ahead of us.
That actually is the next item. Okay. So exam cancellations. Again, I applaud the College Board this year because they have realized that with all of these options and unknowns with the pandemic, that there may be many students who at the end choose not to take their exam. So they have waived all the cancellation fees this year. In the past, if you canceled your exam, you were charged a $40 cancellation fee. So you just get your full refund back. This year, there is no cancellation fee. So you may cancel your exam at any time. I've had many students email me and say, hey, what's the deadline to decide if I want to cancel? You can decide up to the moment your test starts. So if you're at home and you're on your computer and you log in to start that test, you will pay for that test. If you don't log in to start your test, we can issue you a refund for that test. We will not be charged for it. If you come on campus and you're sitting there and your test is in front of you and you all of a sudden decide, I can't do this, don't open your test. As long as you don't break that seal, we're able to give you a full refund. So the easiest way, if you know now, because Mr. Chen and I have been getting emails from students off and on over the past month saying, hey, I've really rethought this and I don't want to take my exam. It's a really simple process. All you need to do is send a confirmation email. We just need it in writing from you that you wish to cancel your chemistry exam. Send it to either Mr. Chen or me. We get that canceled and we submit to our accounting department for a refund. Now, the refunds do take between 3 to 6 weeks to process because they have to go through many different people at the district office, but they do come pretty quickly. If you wait for us to reconcile at the end, like you just don't take your test and then are just waiting for your refund, you may not get your refund until October or November of next year because we have to reconcile all that with College Board, find out who did and didn't take exams, and who paid and didn't pay. So it's to your benefit to email us and let us know I'm not going to take the exam. Are there any questions about that, Mr. Chen? Because I believe that's pretty much the end of the presentation for tonight. Mr. Chen?
Sorry, rookie.
Oh, that's okay. I can't see anybody, so I'm like, did I freeze?
No, that's my fault. I had myself on mute. Okay, is there a specific date when we will be notified if we get selected for in-person exam, or has that not been decided yet?
Yes, if you request an in-person exam and you get that request into us by the 19th, we will have that information by the following week. So we'll notify everybody, hey, yes, we got you a seat in the in-person exam. I'm hoping we can accommodate everybody who wants an in-person exam. So based on the student survey, we're not going to have a problem accommodating anybody that wanted that in-person exam. So I'm hoping that that's the case. But again, like I said, if all of a sudden we only had 54 people say they wanted it in the original survey, and if all of a sudden we have 189 that say, I want it, that might be difficult, because as long as this building is still closed, it's difficult to get those proctors. And at 14 people per room, you have to have one proctor per room. That's a lot of room and a lot of people that we just don't have access to right
Okay, I actually have a concern. So if
now.
we
Oh,
don't have full
love it.
information, if we don't have full information about the digital tests until April, how can we make a solid decision in 2 weeks?
Well, like I said, there was some information that was pushed out this morning that I haven't been able to go through, and it does have some information about the testing formats. So that will be pushed out to you on Friday with all of this information. So in a handout style. So it actually, I've just glanced at it. It actually has each test, and it says, okay, if you're taking the digital option, this is what you will see. So that will all be pushed out to you on Friday. I want you to make sure that you're making an informed decision as to which test you want to take. So we're going to provide you with as much information as possible. Let you read through the material, let us read through all the material, because like I said, it's just pushed out. And then as things change, we can update you. But this gives you 2 weeks to ask those questions. Go on the AP website and look. A lot of the information is on the AP website. So go on there, look at it, make an informed decision, and ask us questions. You know, I might not know the answer today, but I might know the answer tomorrow. So make sure that you ask those questions.
Okay, I have one more. Since there is one date for statistics,
Mhm.
what if there's a conflict or an illness?
So in the event of an extreme circumstance, the student is unable to take the test on that date, there are top secret dates in the summer.
Okay.
So, but they are granted on an individual basis. So we would just need to have information from that student.
Is there a chance that a person's test would be canceled due to COVID-19 situation?
I don't believe so. We've never had a reason to not have, our events on campus. We've had events going on off and on campus since the shutdown, and we've never had a reason to prevent those events. I mean, unless, I guess in an extreme situation, if we were to go into another lockdown situation, we would not be able to offer the in-person tests. But hopefully now that everybody's getting vaccines are out there, and we're starting to see a decline, we're almost to the point where we're going into the red tier instead of the purple tier, which we haven't seen in a year. So things are looking good for being able to offer those in-person exams. So, but yes, there's always a possibility that something like that could happen. If those tests were shut down, then College Board is actually giving an option for those world languages. They will offer you, if you are absolutely positively unable to take the world language test at your site because your site is shut down, they will offer you a CLEP exam later on in the year. Now, CLEP is not exactly equivalent to the AP exam, but it is an offer. But it's another exam that you would have to take later in the year. And that would be on a case-by-case basis as well. It's not an option, oh, I take it at school or I take the CLEP exam. It has to be, there's a reason why your school couldn't offer the test.
Okay, will signing up earlier for the form due March 19th have preference, or will assigned times be selected randomly?
No, it's not first come, first serve. So as we said, it'll be based on conflicts. So we'll look at conflicts first, then we'll look at our seniors. And first of all, we'll look at just how many people are requesting those online, those in-person exams. We might be able to just accommodate everyone without even having to go to looking at, priority lists. So we'll get that information in first, and then we'll start looking at, okay, if we have too many, we have that 189 situation again. how are we going to do this? We're gonna have to contact those people and find out what those conflicts are. Are they involved in sport? Is there sport in season? And just ask a lot of questions before we make that final decision, which is why Mr. Chen and I are giving ourselves a week to get all of that done before we have to have final order in.
Do you suggest wearing 2 masks for in-person?
That's actually a personal preference. I know that the CDC is now recommending that. So that would be completely a personal preference for you. We're not requiring you to double mask. We're just requiring you to wear a mask.
Okay, next question. Where do we find a chart to see the times we can take the exam?
That will be pushed out to you on Friday. So on Friday, we're going to send a lot of documents out to you on Friday. So on Friday, you will receive that chart that gives you the options of the test days and times, whether it's an in-person or a digital option. That will be pushed out on our Friday forecast. It will also be posted on our school website, on our AP tab. And then I will also email all this information to you in the email that you've registered with College Board.
Okay, let's see. Is there a break for the digital exam?
That's an awesome question. I don't know 100% the answer to that. I'm only going to assume at this point in time. Since they say that it is equivalent to a paper and pencil test, a paper and pencil test does have a break built in. So I would assume that there would be a break built in to the digital test as well. I do know that if you are a student who is receiving accommodations on your exam and you have an accommodation for extra breaks, that will be built into your digital exam. So they're taking care of all of that on the College Board end. So I can't imagine them making you sit for a 4-hour exam without having some kind of a little.
If I'm an IB student, am I required to take the AP test?
No, no one is required to take the AP test. We'd like you to take the AP test, but you are never required.
Okay, I think that that answers most of our questions. And again, oh, just one more. For AP Lang and composition, does a typed essay still apply, or do we still have to handwrite the essay at home?
No, at home, everything would be typed. Everything is digital. There's no handwriting and taking photos and uploading this year. It's all digitally offered in the computer.
All right. It appears that, oh, one more. Does each question have a timer?
No, you will have timing for sections. So just like the paper and pencil test, we say, all right, you have 40 minutes to complete this section. And we have the big clock in front of you so you can watch your time. There will also be a digital clock on your screen, kind of counting down the time for you for that section.
Okay. Everyone, just remember, stay in touch with your AP Central and your student account. We see the updates just like you do. We will, again, share this recording with anyone and everyone that decides they want to see it after tonight. And again, you have our email accounts that you could directly message us if you feel that your question was not answered. And to respect everyone's time, it is around 6:30. So Ms. DeBella, anything else you would like to add before we close this session?
No, just that we're going to send out a lot of information on Friday. I urge you to take a look at it, sit down with your parents, and make an informed decision. If you have additional questions, feel free to reach out and ask us. If I didn't know the answer to your question tonight, continue to ask that question and we will get the answer for you.
Okay.
So I guess that's it. So thank you very much for attending tonight. And I hope to see you all in the AP world soon. Thank you, my AP scholars.
All right. Good night.